Right, so we'll move on to the biggest talking point. We're going to predict our Premier League table.
Yep.
We're going to start from number 20 to first place.
Yep. So bear in mind as well, I think we might have touched on it anyway at some point in the podcast so far, but we made these predictions, although that we're doing the podcast after the first game week, with exception to United's fixture. We haven't changed any of these from before. So
whether people believe that or not,
I think it'll be apparent from mine because, where I've put some teams and how they've performed this weekend. So at least we're honest in that regard. This is where we've got them. So
I said to you earlier, and I was watching one of these teams today, and I was like, I'm quite worried now. I've got it completely wrong, but we'll see. We'll see. We haven't changed it, like you say. So shall we start at number 20 then?
Yeah, sure.
Last place. Yeah. So I feel like this is out of two teams. You can only put two teams here.
Right.
So I've put Sheffield.
Okay. I've got Luton in 20th.
Right, so they're the two teams that I was on.
Yeah, so
I've
got them in 19th and 20th.
Yeah, so I've got Luton the other way. So
I think what it is for me, Luton, without the Premier League experience, I don't know if they've ever been in the Premier League. I could be talking out my arse there. I feel like they haven't. If they have, it's not in a time I can remember.
Yeah.
But I just think they're going to just fall too short. Sheffield, equally, I think, are really going to struggle, especially from when we last saw them in the league with that tally of points they got that was really poor.
Yeah, but people are actually saying either Luton or Sheffield could do another derby.
What was that when they had the absolutely horrible points display?
What was it? 4 wins?
Well, it was shocking.
I can't remember now. I've watched so much stuff on it and I can't actually remember what it means. But what they actually scored. But
Luton, I don't know an awful lot about. So I'm not going to talk shit on that when I don't know an awful lot. But I just know I don't think they've got, from what I've seen even this weekend, the highlights of their game, I think
didn't have much to offer, did they?
No, I think the fans will enjoy it. I think they'll get a few shock results as the Premier League always throws out, but I think ultimately they'll come up short.
So the reason why I've put them 19th instead of 20th, I feel like when Luton have a couple of home games, I feel like they'll get a few points there.
Yeah, I think there is a case for that. But like you say, I think we're both in agreement. They're both going to be right down there.
Yeah.
Chef U, I actually, funnily enough, I've done a few drafts of these predictions before I landed on this one. Before this weekend started, but I had Chef U a bit higher up.
Really? What, out of the relegation or?
Yeah.
What?
But it was before they'd lost Ndai.
Oh, okay.
Before they'd lost Sanderberg.
Yeah.
So
Berg's gone to
Burnley.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember seeing him.
But I just think, in my head, that's two of their best players straight away. And then I think I was just being hopeful that, they might come up, because obviously when they first came up under Chris Wilder, they had a good run and stayed up in the league. Yeah. And I was thinking, you know what, maybe they'll do that again and just about stay up, maybe improve on it. But
the thing is, I can't
see it.
You saw some of their players and they did well in the Championship and all that, and they didn't obviously lose them. So you saw something there. But I'm kind of hopeful you have the same view as me with number 18. So the third team relegated. I've gone with Wolves.
I've got Wolves as well.
Right, yeah.
Wolves
so
17th,
I thought,
18th, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I thought we would.
Yeah, I just think that it looks like a shambles at the club at the minute. The manager's walked. They've lost Ruben Neves. I don't know who else they've potentially lost.
Moutinho's gone.
He's gone?
Yeah.
Has he gone to...
I don't know. He's just released.
Right.
Whether he's just gone to Saudi as well, I don't know.
I just think they, compared to what they looked like under Nuno Espirito Santo before he obviously went to Spurs, I think they've never really recovered from that. And then the club just looks like it's in a mess, really, and I just can't see them. I mean, we'll see tomorrow after as well when we've seen United play them and we get a feel for them.
Beat United 2-0.
It would be typical. But
I do rate that Nuno. Is it centre mid? God,
I don't know.
Nunes.
Nunes.
Is that it?
I don't know.
Well, I do rate him, but I don't know his name.
Rate him, but I don't know who he is.
He's Portuguese. He's fairly new last season.
Right.
I think he's good. He's too good for them, I think.
But yeah, they're just giving me nothing to get excited about.
No.
And to be honest, sorry to any Wolves fans if there actually is any, but I'd be good riddance from a United fan. They give us horrible games year in, year out.
Boring games, aren't they, to solve them?
1-0, 0-0. We seem to draw them in the cup competitions as well, so we have to play them even more, so good riddance as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So
you're
that's
going to go
us
down well, Wolves fans. But
19th, 20th up to 18th. So who have you got in 17th?
I've gone for Nottingham Forest.
Have you? I have got Everton. I'm putting them just because I think the 3 teams below are actually worse. But I wouldn't be surprised if Everton went down. I think that
a lot of people are agreeing with you.
But I do think on paper they are better than those 3 teams that I've put below. But they've had 2 back-to-back seasons now of really, really poor showings from front to back. They've lost players.
That's one of the ones that I was, after seeing it yesterday, just seeing not the way they played, because they played well, but how they've got no one up front to finish the chances.
Again, I think they're lacking players. I think Dyche might be able to do a job, and me saying doing a job for Dyche is keeping them in the Premier League. I think based on the last 2 seasons, they can't really hope for anything better than that for Everton's a bonus this year.
To be fair, I haven't got them there, but they're not great on mine.
What are you thinking about for Forest? Steve Cook, the manager's name, as well. I forgot it earlier. It's just come back to me. It's not Steve Cook, is it? No, I've just thought, what's his name? I've just said Steve Cook. That's Bournemouth centre half. People, if you're tuning in for ball knowledge, you should tune back out. I've forgotten his name, but why have you got Forest down there? I mean, obviously you've got them staying up, which
I just feel like the next 2 that I name, I feel like they're gonna be better, even though the next one, people are furious about a certain thing with them. I'll let you know about that in a minute. I just feel like Nottingham Forest won't do as well, but they'll be safe.
So
because I only think they'll be safe because the other 3 teams are dire.
So you're looking at the other teams around them and thinking, no, so obviously they'll be safe, but obviously the teams you've put above Nottingham Forest, you're thinking they're just not as strong as. Is that why they've landed where they are in your lineup?
Yeah. So, Nottingham Forest, I haven't really got much to say because they were kind of flirting with it a bit last season.
Yeah, they just made it with a few games to spare.
And they've got roughly the same team. They've made a few signings, but nothing really that outstanding, really.
Yeah.
Alanga, he looked okay. But
I'll allude to where I've got him in the list a bit later on, but I just think because of the amount of signings they made, that it was going to be very difficult for him last year to have any cohesion there.
Cooper, that's his name.
Steve Cooper, yeah, not Steve Cook. He's a Bournemouth centre half, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think so. We'll move on to 16th then.
Yeah.
I've got Bournemouth there.
I've got Bournemouth there.
Okay.
Yeah. I think
he'll be okay, but it'll be down to I think they'll do well first half, and I think they'll start to drop off second half, and I think they'll start to come down the table.
I think I'm just really basing it off what I've seen last season, in that everybody tipped them for relegation last year. They did start horribly, if I remember rightly, and then they seemed to have a spell where they really started pulling results. And even when everybody was looking at who's going to go down, and like Southampton looked doomed for a long time, and everyone's sort of saying, "Oh, Bournemouth," and I was watching them. It's like there's a game particularly that sticks out in my mind against Liverpool last season, and they were showing a lot of fight. Like, granted, they weren't brilliant compared to under Eddie Howe, however many years ago.
Solanke's been doing okay.
Yeah, there's some half decent players in that team, and I think that's why I've got them. They'll be safe. I think they'll have some shocker results. They'll get spanked by some of the big teams this year.
Yeah,
but I think they'll do enough ultimately to stay in. So 16th is about right for me for Bournemouth.
The only thing is with that, I just feel like they've got more. Even though I think Forest have got a better forward line, I just think Bournemouth play better.
I think they've also got, in recent times, 'cause obviously Forest are a very well-established club in the top flight, but I think in recent years, Bournemouth have got that Premier League experience. They're up and down the Premier League year in, year out. Yeah. With the pace of the way the teams play at the moment. So
people don't really like the away days at Bournemouth, do they?
No, well, it's
how cold it is, like seagulls coming down, nicking your chips and shit.
Yeah, it's not for me. It's a bit of a rubbish one. And if it's, we'll probably get it on a Monday night away.
Yeah. Next, 15th.
Yep.
I've got Everton there.
Okay. So I had Everton 17th. 15th, I've got Fulham.
Wow.
Yeah.
You haven't said Forest yet, have you?
No. They're coming up. But yeah, Fulham, I think, had a brilliant season last season. Did better than a lot of people would have thought. But I'm not seeing them replicate that 2 seasons for me. I think Mitrovic will still try and force an exit.
The only reason I am going that low is because of the manager.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I've done a few of these lists now, and I've just landed on it. I think they'll be in that sort of period where there is in the table where they'll be fine. They'll have some poor results, some good ones, but ultimately they won't be in danger. But I don't think they're going to push towards up the table like they did at times last year.
Do you think they'll do better first half or second half?
Well, I mean, they've got off to a good start, but, playing Everton, who, they're not very exciting. So I think it'll be a real telling sign when they play some of the big teams again, because they got some good results against some of the bigger teams last year.
Yeah.
But
then again, I think that's down to the manager. As soon as they lose that manager, I think they drop.
So equally, you've got Everton down there as well, 15th.
Yeah, so
they're not quite gone, but
no,
they're not doing anything.
They're not going to do, like we said about before when Dice was at Burnley and he finished 8th 1 point, something like that.
8th was their best finish,
or 10th, something like that. He's never going to do that with that Everton team. No, I know Burnley's team weren't great, but it's that Everton.
He might get them playing at some point, but I still think, based on what we've seen even in that opening game and towards the back end of last season where they've just survived, I think, even if they completely buy into his philosophy, the sort of the tools he's got available to him, I just think he's going to really struggle.
We'll move to 14th then.
So, who have you got at 14th?
I've got Burnley.
Okay, so I've got Forest. That's where Forest come in for me. I'm basically projecting Forest to have a better year than last year.
Yeah, and to be fair, after yesterday, they looked okay.
Yeah, I think they looked fine. Like I said it before, I think they brought in a lot of players. There's some good players there. They're a big club, well-established top-flight club with a great history in the Premier League. And I think, ultimately, they've got to be doing everything they can to stay in the top flight. It took them so long to get back up after they'd gone down. And I think they have brought some good players in. It's just a case of gelling and the manager finding.
Yeah.
So I think they'll learn from the experience last year. They've survived last year just about. And I think they maybe do a little bit better.
Yeah.
So a couple of places higher for me.
I did see a quote from Steve Cooper, and he was like...
Steve Cook.
Well, it's Cooper, isn't it?
I know. Okay, it's just crap me up. I keep getting it wrong.
Yeah, so a quote from him, and he was basically saying, last season was his toughest season ever. So I think he feels like he's going to have a better season this season. So we'll see. So I've got Burnley there.
Yeah.
I just feel like Company's going to have a solid season. He's got something about him. And did he finish 100 points last season?
I don't know. I know I'm pretty sure they were nailed on as winners of the championship very
early. Yeah.
And they played. I need to watch that documentary that they advertised the other night.
Yeah, I was going to have to watch that.
But yeah, it looks pretty good. I think Company's got them playing good football. There's some good players there. They've obviously got the Premier League experience in recent times as well. And ultimately, I say, like we said earlier, it's difficult to judge them on that game versus City, but I thought they held enough account of themselves. They're playing. They got the toughest fixture in the whole season first. Apart from going to City away. So
I think Company even said they've lost a few players as well. So,
but, I did Sanderberg in there. They've got James Trafford in.
Trafford. What was that? How much was that? Trafford.
Was it 20 mil? Was it more than
19? I think.
19, yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah, it's crazy. We're looking like we might even get that for Dean Henderson, a player that's...
What was Alanga? 15?
15, yeah. Played a handful of Champions League and Premier League games.
Mad.
Yeah,
anyway.
So what was that? That was
14th. We'll go 13th now. So I feel like Brentford is there.
I've got West Ham.
Okay.
I just think losing Rice, losing Paqueta probably... They've lost Skamaka. There's a few other players I'm definitely missing off that list. And I think if it wasn't for their triumph in that Conference League last season...
Oh, that cup that no one cares about.
Yeah, I mean, it's great for if you're West Ham, I suppose.
Yeah.
There's no disrespect. I'm sure they were very pleased, but their league performance was terrible.
Yeah.
And
if he didn't win, Moyes would have been sacked.
I think there is a case to be made that they should have shook hands and parted ways with him anyway, despite the fact that he's just won them a cup and that seems like a really strange thing to do. But ultimately, they were a million miles away in the Premier League. For the squad that they have, the teams that they were around last year, they should be doing a lot better than that.
It's not the fact that they weren't getting results either. It was the fact that the football's really boring.
Yeah, it's dross.
And it just reminded me of when he went to United, but hey, we won't bring that up.
So you've got Brentford.
I've got Brentford there. The only reason I've put Brentford there, they looked good today, but I've put them there because they're missing Tony for, is it all season or is it half?
Was it a 9-month suspension that he got?
Yeah, so even when he comes back, he hasn't been, maybe he's training, but he's not match fit. Match sharpness, so it's not there, is it? So
there's a case to be made, yeah.
Yeah, so I just feel like they'll struggle the first half. I feel like the second half, if Tony does come back, I think they'll start kicking on. But that's why I've got a mid, like 13th. So
I've not got them a million miles away from there. I'll get to them at the time. But yeah.
So it's interesting with that because we'll move to 12. I've got West Ham there. So
okay. So that's fair enough. So yeah, I think that's about right for them. I don't think they're going to break into the top half based on last year's performances. I think there's a reality where if they don't get the right signings through the door, and they also see Paqueta leave as well as already seeing Rice go, and all these other players that they've lost.
I do like that signing they've brought in, Ajax, Alvarez.
I don't know much about him, must have been.
He's a defensive mid, so they've basically replaced Rice.
Right, okay.
And I do rate him. He is quite good, so it'll be interesting to see how he fits in.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see, obviously, much of it because it was a 3 o'clock game on it yesterday.
Yeah, so the 3 o'clocks I really didn't see an awful lot of this weekend by the highlights, but
I guess I'll see him when he goes onto TV at some point.
So that's your 12th pick, is it?
That's my 12th, yeah.
So I've got Crystal Palace in 12th.
Okay.
I think I think Roy Hodgson will do the business. I think what he came in and achieved with Palace last season, the football that they started playing when Vieira left, how he got the best out of Eze and Elise.
Mm-hmm. Really like Eze. Good player.
Yeah, they're great to watch. And I just think compared to some of the other teams I've mentioned that I've got around them, I just think they're a bit more resolute. I think Hodgson, he's maybe not as naive as how some of those other teams are going to set up. I think he knows how to grind out results in the Premier League. So,
well, did you ever see that interview from Gary Neville with Hodgson? He was saying, like, whenever Hodgson comes into a team, you always think about defensiveness and all that. But when he came into Crystal Palace, they was just scoring. Yeah, they
played really. It looked like they had a really new lease of life because I sort of associate them as a pretty solid and safe Premier League team these days.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really think obviously there's been times in recent years where they've been down flirting with relegation, but I think of them as quite solid. And under Vieira, like I said before, I was really impressed with Vieira, but I don't really know what happened there. Like I say, the wheels fell off and it all just went terribly wrong for them.
That was. I don't. To be fair, what did I have them? What did you have them? 12.
I've got them 12th.
I think 12th is a really good season for them.
Yeah, it's pretty reasonable.
They're higher than Brentford in my eyes.
Yeah.
So I'll go 11th is Crystal Palace for me.
Oh, okay.
So
that's
what's your 11th?
I've got Burnley 11th.
Okay, so yeah.
I'm really putting a bit of weight on Burnley.
You are, yeah.
I think
you're expecting a lot from company.
I think it's just, it's a weird one because I think people say it quite often when you watch how good a team is in the Championship. You sort of go like when Leeds went and romped the Championship under Bielsa, and people are saying, "Oh, they're going to compete in the Premier League," and they just got torn to shreds.
Yeah,
I think that's different because Leeds are obviously very attacking. They were very stubborn. They played the football they played, and they conceded
man-to-man mark, wasn't it?
I think Burnley are very different than that. Obviously they've won a league. Maybe I don't know whether people expect them to come straight back up when they'd gone down. But I just think I like everything I've seen from them, and I can see them maybe having a season like Fulham did last year, where they're really they could take I know it's difficult because they've just played City on the opening day, but in their opening fixtures where people might be thinking they're not going to get an awful lot, I think they could get to such a good start that even when the results maybe start to fall away and they hit a troubling point, I see them having pretty much a mid-table finish. So that's why I've got them round about that point.
The only reason I've put them a bit lower than you is because I have no idea about company at all. I just know he was tanning it up in that league.
Yeah.
I saw obviously a few things like, do you know these viral videos going around when he storms into the changing room?
Yeah,
like,
that's all for the cameras. They did that. Obviously, that last year.
But yeah, we'll see how he does anyway. What was that number?
That was 11th.
11th.
So
I had Crystal Palace.
You had Palace.
We've already touched on them. They're a good team.
Into the top 10 then.
Yeah, if they finish 11th, it's good that. Top 10. You've got them as quite of a drop off. I've got Fulham.
I've got Brentford.
So you don't think Brentford will drop off this season, really?
I don't know where they finished last year.
I think they were close
to that position.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I just
no. Should have.
Yeah, we should have had the old one up, but then we would have got confused.
Yeah, we would have. Yeah,
we're just too honest. But
so you've won already. Oh.
I think this top 10's where it's going to get really mixy. I think because mine are a bit all over the place. But
really,
I think Brentford, like we've had with our bottom 10 there. Bottom 10 sounds a bit silly, doesn't it? But
we haven't agreed on those. Miles,
but we weren't that far away.
No,
like,
from
a couple of places.
Yeah.
But yeah, Brentford. I just think, like when we were talking about their match this week, I just think on their day they look like they have the ability to beat most teams in the league, with exception to Manchester City, maybe Liverpool at their best. But they've beat us. I think they beat all the big teams last year. I'm pretty sure they might have even beat City last year. So.
They're another. Do you know when I said the only reason? Who did I say it for? I said a manager. Oh, Fulham.
Oh, right, yeah.
So I said the only reason Fulham are where they are, whatever, is because of the manager.
So if you got them, where have you got Fulham? 10th?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's a bit of a swap. Have you
but
got...
for the... Yeah,
it's not
for the Brentford point, I only think Brentford are where they are because of the manager.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
If they lose the manager, I don't think their squad's good.
No, he gets them playing. There's players every time I watch that Rico Henry, he looks like he's a good player.
Wasn't he linked to City last season?
I can't remember.
I think they wanted him.
And then Burmo, he looks decent. I think the goal from the first game, I think Flecken doesn't look like a solid goalkeeper to me. But, they had... Ben Mee was their player of the season, I think, last year for the fans' player of the season. So even players like that, Thomas Frank's getting the best out of.
Yeah.
And that's no disrespect to Ben Mee. I think he's decent, but...
I feel like Thomas Frank could manage a top-ish team.
I see him as someone like a Spurs manager. To
be fair, they could have tried him before this... is it Postecoglou?
Yeah.
So I put Fulham 10th is because I still think they'll have a good season, and that's purely because of the manager. And Jimenez, I think he didn't have a good season at Wolves, but no one really did. It was a bit like Chelsea's season. Yeah. It was just awful. But yeah, I think Jimenez might start firing.
So Adama Traore coming in.
Yeah.
He can be a game changer.
Yeah.
He's very hot and cold, but he can be a game changer, match winner.
You've got Pereira, and I think Pereira kind of... Is it Andreas Pereira? Yeah. I think he kind of plays like Maddison. Probably not as good as Maddison, obviously, but he kind of plays like it. And I feel like if you've got him, you've got Harry Wilson as well, haven't they?
You've got João Palhinha.
Yeah.
How no team snapped him up. I don't know how Liverpool haven't gone for him.
Mate, perfect signing
that
again.
That is the perfect signing for that.
Probably cost him like, what, 50?
Realistically, they could probably get him for 50, 60 million, I would think. But then again, they've showed their desperation in this window now. They've sort of...
How you announce Caicedo and then don't get him, it
stinks. That it's not looked good for them at all. But I think João Palhinha, as soon as that season was over, everyone saw how brilliant of a season he had last year. I'm thinking he is not at Fulham next year. That was my gut feeling at the end.
Oh yeah, same.
Year.
Yeah,
I can't believe that they'll be going into this season with him playing. But yeah,
I think he was like, because I was looking at fantasy earlier, and I think he was like quite high on the most cards he was.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
He's not a good fantasy pick, but
he does very good tackles. Like if cancelled the counter attacks and stuff. We'll move on to 9th. This is where we might start being similar, maybe.
Maybe I don't know.
Oh god, here we go.
I don't think so. I've got some bold ones in here. I'm going for it.
So I've got Brighton.
I've got Brighton.
Ah, there we go.
I just think it's difficult. I look at the teams that I've got left. I think Brighton are brilliant. I think De Zerbi is brilliant.
He definitely needs a top team after Brighton.
I just think, am I right in saying, do they have some form? No, they don't have European football. It's Villa, isn't it?
Yeah, they do. No,
Brighton do. Yeah. So I think that is why I've got them falling down a little bit.
Yeah, they do.
They do. I don't know if I'm losing the plot now.
I'm going to have to check out.
But yeah, I was almost certain they had a finish where they're in one of those there's so many competitions now, and all the qualifying places. I'd be shocked if they didn't make it to something last year.
Oh, they play great football. I'm going to check now if they're in.
Yeah, do that. But we look like absolute mugs in front of the world. But yeah, I think I'm expecting more of the same. I think from what we've seen of them this weekend, that's already confirmed. I know Villa do. They definitely got either the conference.
Yeah, so Brighton got 6th.
So they're in Europa League, right? Yeah. So I think that, I know it's very cliche.
Along with Liverpool.
I think they say it all the time, and it's very cliche, but I do think when you've got those extra games, it's going to make a difference. I think might do well in those competitions, but
I think ultimately, I'm excited to see him. I am.
That fixture congestion's just going to see them maybe drop a few places in the league, but ninth isn't a bad position.
That's why, because I was actually thinking maybe Brighton might do a bit worse, but when you just watch them play, I'm like, it's kind of like City. You always expect the season might be a bit of a drop-off, but they're always there.
Yeah,
and I feel like that's what De Zerbi's going to be like.
Yeah.
We'll move to 8th.
Yep.
We're on 8th, yeah, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Spurs. I've got
Spurs.
Oh, see, I told you it's going to be...
Yeah, I can't see it. I can't see it. This is before Kane left. I had Spurs in 8th.
Yeah, same.
I think so. Christ.
And I thought Kane was going to be the top goal scorer as well.
They might even do worse. I think I just can't see it, and that's why I feel a bit bad about that one. 8th for Spurs, and then after watching them against, I know it's Brentford,
they looked okay,
but they looked better than what I thought, to be honest. So who knows? But I personally think it'll be similar to what we've seen from Tottenham since that year where they had a good Champions League run, since that year where they bottled the league to Leicester. I don't think we're going to see them get anywhere near that heights. They've lost their star man. They're not replacing those goals.
They've got everything for a good manager to come in. You might need to get rid of your owner, but I think they've got everything. Like they've got best stadium.
Are they going to spend that money from Kane?
That's what I mean.
I don't know.
Do you remember when they sold Gareth Bale? They brought in like Lamella and all these
4 or 5 signings. Didn't they?
It was like 6 or 7.
Yeah, they were drops,
and he was just awful. So they don't spend well, but Spurs are Spurs, aren't they, Smythe? So I've got 7th. I've got Aston Villa.
I've got Aston Villa in 7th.
I told you, mate, we're going to be the same.
We were going to be the same up here.
Aston Villa, I think they'll have a good season. They'll get Europe again.
Yeah, despite the fact they've just been spanked 5-1 by a good Newcastle side. But yeah, I think there's also a case to be made that Unai Emery maybe goes on and wins his favourite competition again. It wouldn't surprise me.
Imagine.
I think he's very capable. That team as well, bringing in Pau Torres, he brought in Yuri Tielemans on a free.
It was hard to have a judge of Pau Torres because they absolutely got smashed when he came on.
But yeah, I think Villa, they played some brilliant football when Unai Emery came in last season, and I think they will build on that with a full season. Think it's crazy to think that they had Gerrard at the start of last year. And they ended up in the European places.
Didn't they say something like, wasn't it last season where they said Conte and Tuchel went against each other at the start?
Yeah, and you can't believe it now in retrospect when you look back on it.
Mad.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. We've both obviously got them in the same. I think they'll have a good season.
I think you misjudged my predictions, didn't you?
Yeah, I don't know. There's got to be some indifferent ones in here, though. There's no way we're like for like.
Okay, let's see how far it goes. So, 6th, I've got Chelsea.
I've got Liverpool.
Okay, there we go. Chelsea, I think, are going to do... I think... Well, it's a good game to watch today. But
yeah.
I feel like they're both, as you said before, I feel like they're both on the same kind of...
I feel like they're on... It's crazy to say because
level.
Obviously Klopp is very established. They've got some established players there. But I think ultimately they've lost a lot of depth. They've lost a lot of leadership and replaced it with nothing.
But I think that's the same as Chelsea.
No, I agree. I think Chelsea's a different problem in that they've lost... They're like a complete clean slate almost. It's even with the manager. Obviously, a new manager coming in, the players, I don't know what their aim is. Obviously, Pochettino will have the style of football that he wants to play and the direction he wants to take that football club. But until we see a few games from him, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I don't know what to expect from Chelsea at all.
So I feel like these two positions are going to be swapped. But, yeah, I think Chelsea are going to... do worse than Liverpool this season.
I can't say that I think that's a ridiculous shout. I think I toyed with it. I think in some of my... When I was been playing with this and looking at my different ways to formulate the table, I think I had Chelsea quite low in a few of them. And I just think ultimately if it works, they have the players and they have the manager. So I can see a world where they do maybe better than 6th, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if they did finish 6th.
I think they'll have a fun season, if that makes sense, and still come 6th. I think they'll like the way they play, and I think the Chelsea fans will probably like what they see. I just hope the board don't sack him if he does come 6th or 7th or something.
I think who they're going to get that's better than that.
That's what I mean. I hope the board are not dumb.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure when he first walked in at Spurs, Poch, he came outside the top 4 anyway.
Yeah.
But then after that, he was getting top 4 most seasons.
Yeah.
So I think you just got to trust him. Let him just have a season to, like...
he's a proven manager. What he's done in the Premier League in the past with, he didn't have the budget at Spurs. I don't think they even spent
I bet he's got the budget at Chelsea though, hasn't he?
Well, that's it, yeah. He's also got a load of players that are signed from different managers, and it's absolute chaos.
So this is where it's flipped. So I kind of agree with you if Chelsea don't get a 6. Liverpool don't get a 6.
Okay. So
I've got Liverpool 5th.
Okay. I've got Newcastle 5th.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's sort of we're on an R, and the top 3 is going to be the same. I can already see it, but yeah, I think Newcastle. I think this is where 5th maybe. I know it's only one game in, but you've seen them just absolutely annihilate.
Not many people have got Newcastle top in that area.
I just think they had an incredible season last year.
Yeah,
they were very tough to beat. Very tough to break down.
A lot of teams underperformed. I feel like that's why they were so...
Yeah, potentially. And then I just think as well, they've now got the Champions League football. I think other teams around them have strengthened. Not to say they've not strengthened, but I just think they finished 4th last year because they got Champions League.
Yeah, but I feel like even though United finished 3rd, I still feel like Newcastle was... It was like the last game that decided... 3rd and 4th one.
It was still in the mix.
Yeah. So to say they finished all just 4th or something like that, they were 3rd most of the season, weren't they?
Yeah, they were up there all year.
Yeah.
But I think 5th. I'm going from 4th to 5th basically on the trajectory from last year to this year. Which I
don't get me wrong. I feel like 5th is still an amazing season for them.
They could do better than that.
At least they still get Europe. And to be fair, doesn't 5th place this season get Champions League as well?
It's changing format, isn't it? So I don't know, to this league.
It gets more...
So yeah, I don't know. I'd have to check.
That's what they were... I swear that's what I heard, that 5th place might get Champions League in the English league.
So you've got...
I've got Liverpool in 5th.
Yeah.
So I think they'll still get Champions League if that's the case.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, I'll move up to 4th, and this is where I've got Newcastle.
So you've got Newcastle in 4th. I think that's fair. They finished there last year. I've got Chelsea in 4th, which is maybe a bit bold.
It is bold. But I have seen some predictions that have got Chelsea in 4th.
I think it's just... I think it is chaos there to me. Obviously, I'm not a Chelsea fan, so it's difficult, but I think as an outsider... They've got so many players now. I don't even know who some of them are. Like, I'm so tuned into all these Premier League games.
Most of them are like 12.
They've brought all these new players in. I don't know what club they came from. I don't know if they're good, whether Chelsea fans like them, whether they've scored, whether they've not played before. I know nothing about half of these.
Do you know what Todd Bowley's doing? He's playing Football Manager. That's what he's doing.
He's absolutely...
He's like, have you seen this wonder kid on Football Manager?
He's on the loose. But then I'm just basically going on the talents there. Pochettino's a brilliant manager, and I think 4th would be a great achievement for him. If they finished 6th, like you've got them, wouldn't be surprised. If they finish 4th or better than 4th, I think it's achievable. But I think, from my point of view, that's sort of where I've got.
So it wouldn't actually surprise me if Chelsea finished 8th, 6th, or 4th. It's weird.
Yeah, they're a bit all over the place.
I don't think they have the squad depth to finish 4th, but hey, they could go on a rampage. They're probably going to get Caicedo. So that's going to help a lot. Him and Fernandes
like
in mid.
Getting Lavia as well. I've heard some noise that they're going to get both.
They just want to take him away from Liverpool, don't they?
Absolutely winding Liverpool up now.
Yeah. So I had them in 4th. So the top 3 now. So I kind of think it's going to be similar, but I feel like you're going to throw a bold one in. But we'll see. So I've got 3rd. Who have you got 3rd?
Arsenal.
Yeah, so have I.
Yeah, I just,
they've made good signings and they've strengthened.
They looked good again. I think they showed maybe a little bit of, what would the right word be? Sort of like, just with it being the first game of the season, it's like they didn't come out firing the way that they were last season. I think they looked sharp, but they looked like they could have been got against
Oh
Forest.
yeah,
There was
they
chances.
were solid for 75 minutes, and then they just felt like they could just throw it away. They looked like the Arsenal from the end of last season.
Yeah, like
where
they
was
didn't look
just
like
bottling it.
Yeah, they did. Look
Well,
like,
sorry, actually, Arsenal fans didn't bottle it, but did well.
you didn't bottle it, but you did.
So the three signings that Arsenal did were, I think they're impressive. So Timber, I rate him highly, and he looks mint, but he's injured, and it didn't look great. It looked like calf, really, I think.
Yeah, it looked like it could be.
I hope it's not his knee, because we know how bad they go. Rice and Havertz. So Havertz don't really...
Havertz is unlocked potential for me. I think we all,
if you play him in the right
see
position,
the potential
maybe.
there. But
Yeah.
Rice is a brilliant
great.
signing.
Yeah.
And it's one that they needed. And they've obviously signed David Raya now as well as competition
Has
for
that
Ramsdale.
gone through?
I'm pretty sure it's
On a loan,
done.
yeah?
It was good. Loan with an obligation to buy or choice to buy. I think it's going to cost them about 30 million.
Yeah, 29, I think I saw. But yeah.
But I mean, that's not that
great.
exciting. Ramsdale's pretty nailed on.
I think they've got it. I think they've got him in because Ramsdale kind of... I know there was a bit of story come out recently, wasn't there, with Ramsdale, saying he had a bit of trouble towards the end of the season or something. Something like that. Maybe at the start, I don't know. But he wasn't great towards the end. He was bottling quite a few.
He's got mistakes in him, I think, and the fact that he's a relegated goalkeeper from a few times, I think he's been relegated several times, I think that shows to me. Like, I think he's
Arsenal fans love
character.
him.
He's a big character. I think if he played for your club, you would love him, but
I wouldn't. I don't know. Honestly, I don't think he's great. Arsenal fans absolutely love him, but I probably feel the same way as I do about Ramsdale. Maybe not as, but than I do about Maguire. I don't really rate them.
I love Maguire.
I know we won't get in that because you'll jump across the table and have me, won't you?
I'll bang my head on the shelf.
Right, let's go top two then. So, second,
Manchester City.
Well, I didn't know it was coming. I've got United.
Yeah, I've got to back my team all the way. I think, the realistic shout is City to win the league, but every single season I get this feeling.
You want to be different now.
And even if I think realistically, I'm putting United top two anyway. That was where I was putting United.
I had them top two, but I just didn't know.
So I want to put everything in it. We've made a few signings. Hopefully, we've solved a big problem position with the goalkeeper. I think that'll make. I think people are underestimating how big a difference that's really going to make to how we play.
The goalkeeper signing is more influential than the striker signing.
Like, for sure.
I think we could probably go another season without a striker, still get top four, but having that keeper in net,
it just changes the way we play.
Oh, completely.
The amount of times, I love De Gea for his time at United. I've got not a bad thing to say
probably
about
the best
him.
shot stopper in recent years, wasn't he? But
there was a point where I'm saying he's the best in the world for 100%. He was my favourite.
Definitely out of him and Neuer at one point, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was up there. Everybody was after him, and then just maybe not even in the last few years. He got the most clean sheets in the league last year, but I don't think you can read into that as a stat. We watched the games, as all the Premier League fans watch the games. The amount of howlers he made last year, big decisions he makes in games at points where he's passing it out. Yeah,
I do feel like them sort of errors won't be an issue, but I do feel like Onana's going to have some. I feel like all the other teams, as soon as Onana makes a mistake, all the other teams' fans...
They'll all chime in.
Straight on him.
Like Alisson and Edison haven't done it several times since they've been in.
Edison in his first season got lobbed like... He must have got lobbed like twice. I swear he got lobbed by Liverpool and Southampton, was it?
He'll give the ball away. He'll, everything. That'll all happen. It's part and parcel of it. But ultimately, we'll be better off for it because we can change the way we play.
Some of his passing was great pre-season, but
yes, City, not got to say anything about City. Everyone knows they're relentless coming off the back of a treble.
The reason why I put City first is because you can't just go in a season and you can't see anything different. Just the way Pep is, he's miles above everyone. I just think he's too good. But I will say this. I feel like Pep is probably one season away from going.
He's done it all now. He's climbed the mountain for City.
He just needed to win that Champions League. And the fact that he won a treble, I feel like he's on the verge of going now.
Well, it's only been done by Sir Alex in this country. He's won the treble now in 2 countries.
And I feel like if Pep does go, it could end up being like it was back in the day, United and Arsenal.
Well, I think it's a difficult one to envisage because City have never been in this position where they are financially capable of doing ridiculous things.
Even when they had Pellegrini, they were good, weren't they?
Yeah, they've always been there, but Guardiola era is completely different. But my reason for having United fourth is blind bias towards my own club. First, fucking hell, yeah.
They dropped 3 places in the space of 2 minutes.
It's blind bias towards my own club, and it's hopeful, but you've got to believe in it.
To be fair, I don't think it's that biased though, because I'm not far off, and I try to stay as neutral as I can. But a lot of people have United up there because
they finished third last year
without a striker.
We've added players. The manager's got the experience.
We're not going to have Maguire team.
Well, we might finish fourth then.
But yeah, I just feel like they're gonna go for it. I think, but this season I think it'll be a lot closer, and I feel like 3 will be involved. I think Arsenal still will be involved, but I think we just nick second at the end.
What I think we haven't had, and this is where Arsenal had the opportunity last year and they couldn't quite do it. Whereas United, the stature of the club, the fans, the expectation, the weight of it all. If we got into a position where Arsenal found themselves last year, we don't lose it. Whereas, I'll call it now. I can't remember the last time we were in a race like that where I'm talking, there's not longer the season left and you're right in it. And it's like, you win this game. Like when they played City, I know that there was points elsewhere and they dropped points at Southampton, they dropped points at West Ham. But if they went into the City game and won it, it was a 6-point swing.
Oh, and they weren't even in the game.
No, they were battered because they were miles off it. They were still the second best team in the league, quite clearly. They made a mockery of the majority of the other teams in the league. But I just think when push came to shove, they didn't make it. And I don't think we've seen this United team have that pressure.
So what are you saying? Are you saying they bottled it?
United?
No, Arsenal.
Oh, Arsenal bottled it and will bottle it again. I can't see a world where they go on and win. I think they've had their chance. And that's it. I think. Well, like I say, I do think Arteta's a young manager. Oh yeah,
and I do think we're going to keep Ten Hag for a while. So I think eventually, when Pep goes, I think it will be out of them.
Oh yeah, that's viable.
So I think Arsenal will get a chance again, but not this season.
No, I think I've got them third.
They'll be there.
I've got them third, and I think they'll play some good football, and I think they'll put some good teams to sword this year again. But
yeah,
there you go. I've got United winning it. Couldn't wear the shirt and then predict City to win it. That would have been absolutely dreadful.
Yeah, true. You couldn't really do that, could you? Right, okay.